Hey guys, sorry about that. Pat here. We're going to be looking at the weekend box office for the weekend of July 28th through the 30th. My weekend box office report is here to inform you of the numbers, what they mean, because a lot of people look at the numbers, but they don't know how much money that movie needs to make its money back compared to budget and marketing. Usually, they don't know what studio the film was released by, how much money the studio actually makes. There's a lot of factors to that. So I've been trying to do this stream on Sunday to give people a better insight into what's going on with the box office. And if you watched last week, we're going to be talking about a lot of the same titles. Actually, there was only a couple new releases this week, and I don't think. Yeah, I don't. Actually, there were like four. I take that back. Hello, Jennifer. How are you doing? All right, but basically, I just break down about the top 10 box office and let you know how some of these films are doing. What's bombing? What's a hit? What's doing okay? How the market's doing right now. Also, the best thing about the box office is that it helps you see what's probably going to be made by Hollywood in the future, as following the money is always a good sign. So it's a great way if you want a certain type of film to keep getting made. It's best to look at the box office. All right, let's just go with number one. Let's just start off at the top. Dunkirk. Dunkirk's a bit of an anomaly, right? Because the thing is, war films typically don't open with big opening weekends like this did last week with 50 million. They don't typically have a blockbuster-esque opening. And also, Christopher Nolan doesn't typically make them. And they also don't usually have a $100 million budget. The biggest war film that I could remember that was a big blockbuster of recent years had to have been Saving Private Ryan. But a lot of people were wondering how well this movie would hold up, because despite the critical acclaim of what seems to be people enjoying it, it is a film that doesn't have a lot of dialogue. It's kind of just a straight action film for a lot of it. Some people said they didn't feel an emotional connection. So there was an idea that maybe Dunkirk would be a little front-loaded. That everybody went on the opening weekend, and then it wouldn't have a terrific second week. It would drop pretty bad. And then it maybe wouldn't, reach the numbers that some people were saying after last week. Also, we found out last week the budget was $150 million, right? But now, because of a tax rebate, the budget's being put down at $100 million. So if that's true, and I actually said last week I thought $150 million sounded way too high. But if the budget here is actually $100 million, and they got that tax rebate and they got $50 million off, this is a lot better. Because $150 million plus marketing, I was saying this film would have had to make probably $350, $400 million to break even, and it might make profit at that, and I think the film's going to make $500 million worldwide at least. But now, if they have the budget at $100 million, I mean, this thing's probably going to clear profit at $300 million. Well, how it's going, because the film's at 131 at the foreign box office internationally, and 102 domestically. Because this weekend, which was a 44% drop, which is a nice drop. It's not Nolan's best drop. Inception had like a 35% second weekend, and Interstellar was 40%. So Interstellar held slightly better. But still, 44% is not bad. It held very well. I mean, that's because the opening was rather big. 50 million was a pretty big opening. So, contextually, sure, could this have held a little bit better in the 30s? Like 30 million, 31 million? Yeah, but this is a great sign for Dunkirk's box office run, because if it can keep this consistent pattern, then it'll definitely make 150 million domestic. And how it's doing at the foreign box office, I mean, if this thing actually cost 100 million, let's say they have 50 million in the marketing. I mean, if this makes 500 million worldwide, which I think it will, the studio's going to make a profit off this film. I know some people are like, oh, look, it already passed its budget, but that's not how profits work. But still, this making 100 million in 2 weeks, that's a very good sign. Let's see where Interstellar was after 2 weeks, actually, because that's the closest film to look at. Interstellar, its second weekend, was 28 million, 40% drop, 96 million. So currently, Dunkirk is pacing ahead of Interstellar. So and the high end, I guess Dunkirk, you would say 180 million. Although I don't quite see that happening, but still, great weekend, holding number one again. Christopher Nolan having that sweet spot in July that he always likes to release films at, except for actually Interstellar, oddly enough. But I mean, you can't hold a good Chris Nolan down. So my final prediction, I think Dunkirk has the ability to make 600 million worldwide, but I would be more conservative and say 500 million is where this is going to end up. But at the end of the day, $500 million for a war film like this, pretty damn good. Really, really hard to complain about that. I know you guys want me to get to this one, but I'm going to hold off on that because there's some more films to talk about. All right. Girls Trip. This is an amazing second weekend. This is fucking amazing. I thought Girls Trip was going to be a hit. Was going to be a hit when I saw the trailers, when I read the reviews, because this film actually got rave reviews. When I thought about the cast, and I was like, Queen Latifah is actually very underrated as a movie star. It's the fact that she's been famous for so long. I mean, she's been around a long time, from television to film. I mean, it's had to have been a 20-year plus career. But, I brought this up last week, and I said how Malcolm D. Lee made this. And usually, the thing with his films, and they hit a certain audience, they hit that black demographic that Hollywood so rarely taps into. Typically, after the opening weekend of his films, which usually do open great, they just kind of fall off and then don't usually stick around. They never make 100 million. They're front-loaded. Barbershop, The Next Cut was a... Cunt. Barbershop, The Next Cut was front-loaded. He directed Scary Movie 5, which was a bomb. Soul Man was a bomb. Welcome Home, Roscoe Jenkins was a bomb. Roll Bounce was a bomb, which I highly recommend that movie. It's a very underrated movie. Undercover Brother kind of became a cult classic, but it didn't do that great. And his film, sorry about that. His film, The Best Man, actually, I'd say was a hit for the time. Like, it made $35 million on a $9 million budget, and yeah, I'd say it was ahead of time. But this is going to end up being his biggest hit, by far, because a 20 million second weekend, a 35% drop, I mean, that's opening weekend numbers. This film has a $19 million budget. That's a better opening weekend than, like, Rough Night, and some other female-led comedies like that tried to tap into, like, a hangover crowd. That means this film's branching out from its demographic, which I talked about last week. I was wondering if this film would just stay with a certain audience. I said black women, 25 to 45 probably. But clearly this film is catching on with other people, because it would not be making this kind of money if it was just, black women going to see it. Other people are going to see this. Because 20 mil is a great second weekend. You just have to assume that next weekend it's going to hold in the teens, maybe even 15 million. So I'm going to say it now. Girls Trip is going to make 100 million at the domestic box office. And probably a little more than that. So this right now is one of the breakout hits of the summer. Much like Get Out was for Jordan Peele. A black director, this is a major, he's going to have a $100 million film, and I don't think anyone would have predicted this film to be a film that makes 100 million. I mean, I would have thought probably a total would be 65 million in the final when it's all said and done. The fact we're in weekend 2, it's not even in 3,000 theaters, and it's pacing this well. I mean, this could even make 120 million or something. I mean, this is a hit. This is a full-blown hit. I'm sure Queen Latifah has some back end, and I don't mean like her booty. I mean back end for the studio when this movie crosses a certain mark. When usually with the back end, once the studio gets its money back, someone like Queen Latifah, who may have taken a low salary for this film, she might get part of the box office gross, so she might get a huge chunk of cash from this movie. I'm just assuming that, but I mean, that's a pretty low budget, and I'm pretty sure Queen Latifah and Jada Pinkett Smith could get more than a basic salary. Like, they probably didn't get paid much for this movie. But, wow. I mean, it's got to be said, Girls Trip, real shocker. I mean, it's definitely the surprise hit of the summer, I'd say. I don't think anything this summer has surprised like that I can think of. Because pretty much everything that's been a hit. I mean, Wonder Woman is a lot bigger than a lot of us predicted it would be. But you know it is what it is. Wonder Woman's a hit. So let's look at Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman had another fucking amazing weekend. What was the drop? 23% drop. Look at these numbers. Let me just show you how Wonder Woman performed this summer. It had 103 million opening weekend, right? The opening day for Wonder Woman was 38 million, right? So that's not usually a number that leads you past 100. Typically with that kind of number, you would keep yourself in the 90s. This film had such good word of mouth and hit such a big audience, which I think in particular it hit a huge female audience, which it shows that we see that in the polling on this film, that a lot of men are going to see this too, obviously, but it hit both sides. This is getting the female demographic that may not go to every kind of Marvel DC film. And then it's also getting that male demographic that maybe wouldn't always go to a female franchise-run film like a Hunger Games or something, or I don't want to say a Twilight, but something like that. So Wonder Woman hit all the boxes. The only thing that checked more boxes this year was Beauty and the Beast, because Beauty and the Beast also got little kids and older people, so that's why it made so much money. But still, it's got to be said for Wonder Woman. Second weekend, 58 million. Third weekend, 41 million. Fourth weekend, 24 million. 15, 9, 6, 4, 3. You see those drops? They're tiny. This film has surpassed Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, a sequel to one of the most popular films to come out of Marvel. I mean, a huge hit. Guardians of the Galaxy made 333 million when it was released in, what was that? God, what year would that have been? Was it 2013 that Guardians of the Galaxy came out? 2014? It was 2014. So a few years ago, Guardians of the Galaxy was this breakout hit, made 773 million worldwide. Big breakout hit, right? So the second film, you would think, domestically would have just blown up and made 400-something million and 900 million worldwide. And the film worldwide has made 860 million. But it's got to be said, man, Wonder Woman is kicking Spider-Man and Guardians' ass. It just has this budget, 149 million. Holy crap. That's the lowest budget of the year for the super... Well, Logan's budget was 97 million. So I was wrong about that. Let me correct myself. So Logan is going to have a pretty great profit too, because Logan's made 600 million off a $97 million budget. But still, this is a very conservative budget for a big superhero film. Most of them are costing 170 minimum or more. This film is going to make 400 million domestic. It's a guarantee now. A lot of people were wondering if it was going to hold that long. To go from 100 million opening weekend and end up over 400 million domestic is huge. So this is big for DC because this really helps Justice League. Justice League was having to rely on the hype of Batman v Superman, which had awful weekend drops. It had one of the worst second week drops in movie history. And I mean, it was so front loaded. And Suicide Squad, which got bad reviews but did really well at the box office, they had to hope that, you know, to go see Justice League, you needed people who liked Ben Affleck as Batman, or they liked the little cameos of like Ezra Miller. But with Wonder Woman, and you see it in the marketing now, they're pushing her front and center in the Justice League film. They have a mega hit summer film. I mean, they really have the hit of the summer is Wonder Woman. You have to give it to, with the budget, the fact it's going to make 800 million worldwide. I mean, that's nuts. For the first film in a franchise, it was a pretty, and you might say, oh, well, it's Wonder Woman, but this is outperforming Man of Steel, which was Superman, and it's outperforming Batman v Superman, which was them team up. This is outgrossed Batman v Superman at the domestic box office. That's fucking nuts. Just think about that. Wonder Woman is making more money than it has $100 million less put into it in the budget. Big deal, man. I mean, Patty Jenkins is probably going to be directing Justice League 2. It would shock me if she's not going to be directing it, or at least be the head honcho behind the DC. I'm thinking they're transitioning people right now with Joss Whedon coming in on Batgirl, him working on the Justice League reshoots. I think they're bringing Joss Whedon in, Patty Jenkins. I think they're trying to build some new people and kind of get away from the Zack Snyder as subtly as they can. Because there's rumors he's taking more of a backseat role, producer role, and going to be a lot less hands-on. He'll have ideas for the story, and he'll be able to add little, probably visual ideas, but they're going to keep Zack off from... It's saying that he's not going to be directing anymore, and I think that's for the best. Zack's place is to probably be a guy who does some storyboards, gives some ideas, and helps kind of keep a certain visual aesthetic consistent, but... I think it's time to move on from Zack Snyder, because this film's outperformed his 2 films, which had huge characters. So it just shows you that it had to be the quality and the word of mouth, because Wonder Woman is performing very, very well, and there's really no excuse for the performance of... People said now, like, oh, well, yeah, Man of Steel was a reboot, you know, and Batman v Superman, you know, you got to give it credit. It's like, not when this film's out grossing those films domestically, that kills any argument that can defend the box office performance for, like, a Man of Steel. It just doesn't hold up, unfortunately. Because I don't want films to bomb, even though I'm not a fan of Man of Steel or Batman v Superman. I'm going to get a drink of coffee here, but I don't want them to bomb. I just want them to make good movies. So, hopefully this is a sign to them. Maybe Zack Snyder... And I hate saying this, because the guy's daughter committed suicide, and people think I'm too harsh on Zack Snyder. I get this comment every fucking day. Quit being a Zack Snyder hater. It's so cliche. You're such a... They say I jump on the bandwagon. It's like, dude, it wasn't a bandwagon. I was like everyone else. I liked Dawn of the Dead. I thought 300 was cool. I thought Watchmen was visually interesting, but it's a fucking awful adaptation of the comic, and it's got some bad acting and scenes. But still, it's like, okay. And then I was like everyone else. His movie started to get crappy, and then I thought, oh, maybe Man of Steel, he'll come back. I gave Snyder every chance in the world, people. I guarantee you. I went to Man of Steel with no cynicism. I was excited for that movie. I loved the trailers. I thought the movie looked amazing. I mean, I was pumped. I really was. Christopher Nolan was producing. David Goyer was working on the script. I thought Zack Snyder could do a great Superman movie visually. I was hoping it was going to look like Watchmen. Instead, he gave it this Terrence Malick fucking look. Some pretentious, artsy type of film. He was trying to be Ridley fucking Scott at points. It's like, why doesn't this look like your other films? I came to see a Zack Snyder action film. I didn't come to see you attempt to do some meaningful crap that you're not good at. If he was good at it, it would be fine. And then Batman v Superman, he's just trying to be David Fincher. And that drove me nuts even more. It's like, stop trying to be David Fincher. You're not David Fincher, Zack. Stop it. David Fincher's David Fincher. Let him be David Fincher. Be Zack Snyder. I want the Zack Snyder. I'm serious. Both of those movies would be so much better if they had the crazy Zack Snyder visuals from back in the day. Because Watchmen, we say what you will about it, it's got some nice cinematography and special effects. It's a good-looking movie. It has some really good-looking things about it. I like it a lot. So, visually, a lot of problems with the script. But aesthetically, I don't know what happened to Snyder. But to me, though, it does, you know, people think I just hate on him. I don't just hate on him. He's hurting this whole franchise. He's hurting DC. Batman v Superman should have made $1 billion. Man of Steel should have made $1 billion, or at least $800 million. Now that Wonder Woman's making that kind of money, it just proves how I felt for so long. We don't need Zack Snyder. He's holding these films back, not just from a quality standpoint. You know, I can shit on Michael Bay all I want, but up until this point, the Transformers films were all making huge money. You know, they were making $1 billion every time a fucking one came out. So, I can't shit on it. Michael Bay, you know, he gives the company what they want. You know, Zack Snyder was not delivering for DC financially. Those films should have been making a lot more money. And now there's a chance, because of Wonder Woman, for Justice League to make more money than it was going to make probably just relying off Batman v Superman. People are going to go see it now to see Wonder Woman because people really like this movie. And it's going to be like, oh shit, more Wonder Woman. They luck the fuck out with this. I mean, this was great luck for DC. The fact that they have Wonder Woman out before, that's going to build up so much hype that they're going to have all this goodwill going into Justice League. So, that's why I said I think you're going to be seeing the end of Zack Snyder directing the cinematic. And I'm not saying that to attack the man. I know his daughter died. I know he's a nice guy. And I think he has a good heart. I think he wants to make good things. But people, he should not be the guy running the DC cinematic universe. We can do better, and we should expect better. Okay, we used to have Paul Dini and Bruce Timm running our animated universe, which was fucking brilliant. Okay, we had Paul Dini writing. Why is the standard? Why are we setting the bar so low all of a sudden? Then it's like, you know what? You know what, Zack Snyder's okay. No, we can do better, people. Alright, let's go on to Spider-Man Homecoming, which actually had a pretty good drop, 39%. This is a good sign. Because like I said last Sunday, Spider-Man Homecoming has been disappointing. That second weekend drop was major. That second weekend drop of 62% really hurt this film. This film should have held around 50 million and more in that weekend, and it would have really helped its box office. It didn't do so bad in the next weekend, even though 50% drop was kind of steep on a third weekend like that. But now with this 39% drop, it looks like it's easing every weekend. So I'm going to assume this is going to play very well the next few weeks into August and probably through September. I was saying I didn't think this film was going to make 300 million domestic, or I wasn't sure. And I think the studio wanted this to make 350 million. I think they thought this was going to be a big breakout hit. Because like I said, with inflation, this isn't outperforming The Amazing Spider-Man, the first film that big at the Amazing Spider-Man with inflation would have made about 300 million domestic. Now the budget was 230 million, where this film's budget was 175. But still, like I said, Sony didn't get a huge boost here from the Iron Man Marvel tie-in. Like, this movie's performance is just what you would expect from a I mean, this is, you know, it's like, oh, it'd probably make 700 million worldwide or more. It's like, well, you kind of expect that from a Spider-Man film with Iron Man in it. Yeah, of course it's going to make 700 million. You know, I think there was a lot of hope, especially that this got great reviews too. If this was going to break out like Wonder Woman and be a film that maybe made 800 million worldwide or something, but it doesn't look to be the case unless the foreign box office really blows up when it opens in some markets. And the foreign box office is good, but it always is for Spider-Man. Having said that, though, let's see, if it's at 13 million, I mean, this is probably going to make 300 million. So if I said last week I didn't think it was going to cross that, I'm probably was wrong about that. It's not going to do much better than 300 million. I mean, that's definitely a cutoff point. It's not going to make like 320 million. But still, this reaching 300 million domestic, that's pretty good for, you know, the first film in this new franchise of Spider-Man. The question is, will the next movie open at 150 if they don't have Iron Man in it? How well would this film have done if it didn't have Tony Stark in it? There's a lot of that, you know, what's the franchise, what's the pattern going to be for Sony after this? What are they going to do? You know, a lot of people like this movie and it's doing well. But at the same time, you know, there does seem to be fatigue for Spider-Man. I mean, he's not making the kind of money that he was at one point. There's a lot more superhero films now than there used to be, too. But still, we see someone like Wonder Woman or a Guardians of the Galaxy be able to break out. And I know we didn't see those characters before. But I still think a new approach to Spider-Man could have made more money. It might have been release date. I really wonder, there's part of me that wonders if they released this film either too late in the year or if they should have waited until it had kind of a month to itself. Because after Spider-Man's come out, it's had competition pretty much every weekend. It's kind of, like after its first weekend, just go and look, it came out on its opening weekend. After that, we had to deal with War of the Planet of the Apes. And then the weekend after that, Dunkirk came out. I mean, Spider-Man hasn't gotten a weekend pretty much to itself. So, you know, it probably would have performed a lot better otherwise. War for the Planet of the Apes, not doing great. Like I said before, very bad performance, particularly in the domestic box office. This is a 50% drop. It's at 10 million. What is this? Is this third weekend? Yeah, we went from 56 to 20 to 10. So the film really hasn't had a good weekend hold yet. Those are all pretty bad drops. It was very front-loaded. So far, it's at 224 million worldwide. They have not made their money back yet with a $150 million budget. And I have no doubt the marketing was 30 million at least. But I'm sure it might have been even more than that. We're looking at a film here that I'm not sure where it's going to end up. Like I said, the last film ended up making $700 million worldwide. So the expectation here, even if this underperformed, would be what, like $500 million, $600 million. I'm going to say this isn't making $600 million. It could end up making $450 to $500 million. That's the goal I think they need to reach for this to come out okay. If they make $500 million worldwide, this film will probably be successful. They can probably get a profit that way. But domestically, I was saying I thought this might get to $150 million. I'm not so sure now. It might scratch to $150 million, but I'm more saying 140 something, maybe 143 million domestic. And foreign, I'm not sure yet. I don't think it's open in every market. So we have yet to see where that ends up. But domestically, this is not what you want. Once again, though, it's a film that came out in a crowded summer. Rave reviews. I mean, this is one of the most acclaimed. I mean, if Dunkirk wasn't out, this was the most acclaimed film of the summer. It's the end to a famous, acclaimed trilogy. I mean, it's just shocking this film didn't do better. People thought it would underperform compared to the last film, but I mean, this is even performing worse than the first movie, Rise of the Planet of the Apes. Especially when you take ticket inflation into account. Like, God, look. Rise of the Planet of the Apes made $197 million with ticket inflation from 2011. So it made pretty much $200 million. So it made over $500 million and had a $93 million budget. So this film's not going to make the same money that the first film did, pretty much, and that's disappointing. The studio would not want that. They would want it to at least outgross the first film, and it definitely gives the sign that there's probably not going to be a fourth Apes movie. Even though I actually think the $150 million budget, they did a good job with budgeting the film. There's just no way they're gonna make, because really the next film could be a bomb if they're not careful. So, I actually like Sucker Punch too, but the Batman v Superman movie was really bad. Oh boy, was it ever. There's actually an old review on here of me reviewing Batman v Superman like the day after I saw it with a friend. It's a good review, but I will warn you, I'm like drinking and eating during the review because I was hungry as shit, and I was drinking wine. I really like to eat cheeseburgers and drink wine. It was kind of a thing I did all the time. I don't drink much anymore, but... Okay, Despicable Me 3. I said last week I hate Illumination Studios, and I do. I think their animation looks like shit. They send all the animation off to Korea or something like that and get it done for nothing. This film was made for $80 million. That's an absurdly cheap animated film. No animated film usually costs that little, especially the third in a big series. There was a lot of people saying this film was underperforming at first because its opening weekend wasn't as impressive as Minions or Despicable Me 2, and that was true, but the film's been holding so damn well every weekend at the box office that now it's made a huge $230 million domestic total. Now, that's still below the first two Despicable Me films, true, but with this budget, who gives a shit? That's huge. And the foreign box office, this is already outperforming stuff like The Secret Life of Pets. And this film could end up making $900 million worldwide. I'd say the profit the studio's going to make on this, much like The Secret Life of Pets and Minions and stuff, is going to be over $300 million, or at least $250. So Illumination, once again, is the most profitable studio right now. They had the most profitable film last year with Secret Life of Pets. Minions was one of the most... Minions might have been the most profitable film the year before, I think. No, it was Force Awakens, I think. But Minions was right there. So, yeah, they're making mad money. You have these three films, 400, 361, and then 290 mil domestic, 228 mil domestic. 1.1 billion worldwide, 970 million worldwide. I mean, 820. This is like the Ice Age franchise, where every time they released one, it did huge fucking numbers at the foreign box office. Internationally, just blew up. But the thing is, with these Illumination films, they actually do really well domestically. Secret Life of Pets was a huge hit, and 230 million is not a bomb for a film. That's great. Pixar's Cars 3 is not even close to performing this good. Let's look at Cars 3, a film that had a $180 million budget. And let's say all in total they had probably over $200 million in this movie. $146 million domestically, not even $300 million worldwide yet. Now, don't get me wrong, Cars merchandise makes a shitload of money. Disney's made like, I think it's $10 billion they've made off just Cars merchandise alone. So this movie's going to make money for the studio. But as far as a box office performance goes, this is shit. This is Pixar's, I mean, this is the Good Dinosaur type numbers. This is bad. I mean, the fact this isn't even really going to make like 150 mil, it's not even close to its budget. Worldwide, it's not doing well. I mean, these are not. Will this make 400 million? I don't know. I don't think so. The Cars franchise, people were kind of curious why Pixar was even making this fucking movie, because nobody really liked the second film, and the first film was something that was always kind of a mixed bag. Like, kids seem to like it, but adults don't seem to like it. But still, this was released in 4,200 theaters. I don't know if Pixar thought they were going to turn the Cars franchise around and make this a blockbuster. I'm not sure. I literally think they made this movie just to get new kids indoctrinated into the merchandise to sell toys, and they really didn't care about making a great Pixar film. You know, it's weird because they put just as much money into this fucking film. And the thing is, I could shit on Illumination Studios for being cheap and making Despicable Me and being crappy, but really, Cars 3 is just as much of a product and shitty. It's just Pixar put way more money into it. It's not like this is an Inside Out or a Finding Nemo or an Incredibles where I can be like, well, yeah, but Pixar made this movie, so fuck Despicable Me 3. It's like, they're basically the same thing, except Despicable Me is doing a lot better. So this is a sad, sad little time for Pixar. That's very depressing. And hopefully they don't make Cars 4. Please don't make Cars 4. Transformers The Last Night. 128 mil domestic is a terrible performance for a Transformers movie. Every Transformers film previously at least did 200 mil domestic. Even more than that, 245. This is $100 million plus below of a total than the last film. I mean, that's bad. Even worldwide, this isn't passing Transformers, the original, or the second film. There's still some money to be made, but I don't see this making 700 million worldwide. So Michael Bay finally will not make it. Because the excuse was always he'd say, oh, I'm not going to make the next one. I'm going to go out with this. And then he'd come make the third film. Then he did the fourth film. And he said he was done again. Then he made this motherfucking film. People don't even talk about the fourth film originally was supposed to be a reboot. And then they decided to make it a sequel. So then this film comes out. The fear was it was going to do so good again in China and stuff like that. I mean, the last film did like 350 million in China. So the fear was, oh god, another Michael Bay movie's going to make $1 billion. And then guess what? He's going to direct again. But no. I'm not going to say this is a bomb, but that budget of $217 million is steep as fuck. And with marketing, I mean, they'll probably just break even, but this is not a hit. And this is going to have a much lower profit than the other Transformers films. This film made them $250 million. This film made them over 300. I mean, these films have brought in a lot of profit for the studio. That's why Michael Bay gets to keep making them. This film, though, this is not a big money maker. So that Bumblebee reboot is where they're going to put their money next and see if how that performs. And if Bumblebee doesn't perform that well, we might not be seeing some Transformers films for a few years. They might take a little break. I would love to see a good Transformers film that's not made by Michael Bay and has his signature visual style and how he fucks this series up. I would love to see a good Transformers movie with a good story and good characters, and the action scenes could just be secondary to really enjoying this, like, almost Spielberg. You know, like, a perfect Transformers movie really should be like a Stranger Things, or like an E.T. Like, it should be a group of kids or something, and the story you really like, and then the Transformers are they're kind of great, mythical, almost monster-like creatures that are there. They're almost a kaiju approach, and, which I guess Michael Bay tried to do with the first Transformers, but he added all that shitty humor and the crappy love story. But the idea is so simple, it's kind of crazy that he fucked it up so many times in a row. I don't know how he made the same shitty movie like 5 times. It's rather astounding. Yeah, no, Bay did. Bay ruined that franchise before it even fucking started. Like, the first film's kind of okay blockbuster for '07, but after that, Michael Bay just continued to make horrible fucking movies, and finally it's caught up with them. Finally, this franchise lost all of its fucking momentum. And I'm sorry, thank God. We do not need any more Michael Bay Transformers films. Anything that he had to say, he already said with Sam Witwicky in the wonderful original trilogy. The great trilogy of our time. Okay, let's keep up with Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Man Tell No Tales. $776 million worldwide, $230 million budget. Definitely had a big marketing budget. They've probably made a profit off this now because of the foreign budget. Domestically, that's pretty shitty. That's the lowest gross for a Pirates film by far. This is another Transformer situation where the last film did much, much better. Domestically, 240, and made $1 billion worldwide. This film, it'll probably end up making 800 million worldwide, which is not a bad total at all. They should have tried to make this movie for much cheaper, though. I don't know what they were thinking with that budget and giving Johnny Depp so much money. I would have, at best, tried to keep this movie at 200 million, if not less. Then you might have had a pretty decent little profit on your hands, but now they're just going to be scraping by because there's rumors this film cost even more than this, that they have like $300 million in this film. Like, they put a lot of fucking money into it. So I'm not sure if this might even be a bomb, if that's true. There's rumors that this is not even the actual budget and they're trying to keep it, they're basically trying to play face that, like, hey, don't worry, you know, it's okay. But there was a point that Pirates was like the white elephant for Disney. And just like how Michael Bay didn't properly nurture that franchise, and now it is what it is, Disney didn't properly take care of the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise. This was a franchise that every film could have made $1 billion. Legitimately, I think this franchise had Star Wars box office potential. I think this franchise could have had a film that made Force Awakens type money. I think this franchise could have had... You know, because the original trilogy did huge, and then the fourth film made $1 billion, and now we're here. I think they could have... I mean, imagine if they had been great movies. If the third, fourth, and this film were all great. I mean, you could argue that this film probably could have made $1.5 billion. I mean, it would have done Avengers numbers. The Pirates franchise is huge. People love that first movie. But they didn't take care of it. And, That's definitely an issue. Okay. Sorry about that. Okay, let's let's get back to the box office. Okay. So Atomic Blonde. This is by one of the directors that was on John Wick. What's his name? Chad Stileski. And then David Lecht. David Lecht went on. He kind of was more the set design guy, the style guy, and that's why John Wick had such great set design and style. They both did choreography, but the other guy, he was kind of more the choreography action guy. Even though Atomic Blonde looks to have great action, but it also has that stylish thing kind of about the first John Wick. But John Wick 2 went on to become a huge, huge hit, making like 170 million worldwide. So the question was, could this guy go make his own little franchise separate? And this is pretty good opening weekend. $18 million for a $30 million budget's not bad at all. It'll probably make its budget back and then some worldwide. If this makes $100 million worldwide, let's say everything included, that'll be a pretty successful movie. Because John Wick only made $88 million, but they stuck with that franchise. I mean, $88 million worldwide. And then it resulted in John Wick Chapter 2, which ended up making $171 million on a $40 million budget. So they have a franchise now. So Atomic Blonde they shouldn't give up on. I think they should stick with it. And I think if they do, there's actually a very good chance that they might have a franchise. And Charlize Theron might become a action star, have her own series, actually. Yeah, she could have her own franchise here. So this isn't a bad opening weekend. I think, if anything, it may have got damaged by Girls Trip, Emoji Movie, Dunkirk, Spider-Man, Planet of the Apes, Despicable, all these movies being out. This might have hurt the box office a little bit. So that's that's something to look at. But if you were hoping this film was going to be good and do well, I can't tell you if it's good or not. I haven't seen it. It got okay reviews. Not like John Wick reviews, but it got good reviews. But it's not doing bad as of right now. We'll have to see how word of mouth holds up over the coming weeks, though. This film's either going to hold up really well, or it's going to have a decent opening weekend and then disappear immediately and be nothing, which is also very possible. Alright, let's get to Valerian and the City of 1,000 Planets, which is a major bomb. Now, this isn't a bomb in the sense it's lost money. Basically, how Luc Besson set this up, he had this set up through so much shit that this movie basically didn't even need to make its budget back to make money. The money was separated between so many different studios. So, this film's actually not losing money as far as I know for anyone. Like, because not one person has all their money invested in this. And he did all the... he did some special fucking accounting. He did some master French accounting. I don't know what he did. He did some Uwe bullshit. Where he somehow made it possible that this film isn't a bomb. I know. I read that in Variety and a few things. But he somehow made it where... Yeah, this film only needed to make like 15 million to pretty much make its money back. Because the people are getting a lot of their money back that they put into it without actually losing money. I'm not sure how it's work. I might do a separate video on this to try and figure out the box office of this damn movie. But on the surface level, let's just look at that. The budget was more than this. The budget was over 200 million. They had a lot in marketing. They're saying now it's 177 million. They had a 17 million opening weekend, which was dismal. 30 million domestic, which is awful. There's been no foreign totals coming in yet. Still, this isn't going to make this kind of money, so... It's not really worth even talking about except for how Luc Besson got this money together and found out how to do it. You got to give the guy credit as a producer. He produced the Taken trilogy and the Transporter series and a lot of hit movies. And as far, you know, Lucy, let's look at Lucy. This is a crazy one. Lucy cost 40 million, pretty conservative budget. Film ended up making 463 million worldwide. So the guy definitely... can make some fucking money for a studio, so let's not rule him out yet. Yeah, tax breaks. It must be a shitload of tax breaks. Yeah, I have to go back to that article. I should have freshened up on it, but yeah, Besson basically made it where that movie isn't a bomb. So if someone just tells you like, "Hey, that movie's a bomb," it's not really true. It's just not really a film that's making a lot of money. But he didn't. It's something where like. Several companies put money up and they all only needed a certain amount of money to get a lot of their investment back. So it seems a little odd though. I'm wondering where a lot of that 177 million where the fuck that money is. Like, did Luc Besson just pocket like $100 million and nobody knew how? Did he just do some Bernie Madoff shit or something? Okay, Baby Driver by Edgar Wright. This is doing great. I was really worried it wasn't going to make $100 million. Because after its 20 million opening weekend, it did hold well. You know, like 36% drop, 33% drop, 30% drop. But I didn't know if it was going to stay with that, like if it was going to stay in 30s, but it is. So this film's going to scratch to 100 mil domestic. But it's going to be Edgar Wright's first film to make $100 million, and I'm so happy to say that. I've been a fan of Edgar Wright for so long. I mean, Shaun of the Dead did well, making $30 million on like a $3 million budget, and Hot Fuzz did well because it had a low budget, made 80 mil worldwide. But domestically, he's never had a film do well, and Scott Pilgrim was straight up a bomb, and The World's End pretty much underperformed. I mean, it didn't do that well. 46 million for an Edgar Wright film on a $20 million budget. That movie should have done a lot better. And I loved At World's End. I know some people don't like that, but I think not At World's End, The World's End. But this still, who knew Edgar Wright could make a hit? You know, after the whole Ant-Man thing where he left, there was fear that he was going to get a project made because it felt like forever since we had an Edgar Wright movie. It has been a long time, actually. It's been since 2013. We had to wait a while there. But conservative budget, 34 million, even if they have a lot in the marketing. The fact that this is going to make 100 million. I mean, this is a film that I would have guessed would have opened at like 15 million and then probably ended up grossing somewhere like 50, 60 million on the high end. And I always thought this had a chance to make 100 million worldwide because, you know, it just kind of looks more commercial than Edgar Wright's other films. It's not distinctly British. so much like some of his other films, and it's not as idiosyncratic as Scott Pilgrim. It's for a lot of people. But it just shows that if you release original movies right now and not franchise films like Get Out did, you can have, or Girls Trip now, they can really break out more than the films that you're putting $200-300 million into, or 150 million even. I mean, this is really doing better than War of the Planet of the Apes, because War's making more money, but War has a lot more money put into it, and for being the third film in a trilogy that's successful, it's kind of disappointing. Baby Driver's overperforming. Nobody said this film was going to make 100 million. So for John Hamm, Kevin Spacey, Ansel Elgort, everyone in this is just a big boost for their careers, But in particular for Edgar Wright, now studios are going to go, okay, we can give Edgar Wright a $50 million, $60 million budget. We can give him again, because he got that budget for Scott Pilgrim and it did horrible. So it's like they were scared to give Edgar Wright, money again, and he was talked about for Star Trek Beyond. But, this film's going to make over 150 mil worldwide. It's going to make profit and then some. So awesome. And then with home video sales and TV, this is a hit. Baby Driver is one of the hits of the summer. So awesome for Edgar Wright. Great total, and the studio couldn't have hoped for better. There's really no way to look at that film, but it's a total success. They nailed it. I really enjoyed Baby Driver too. It wasn't my favorite Edgar Wright film, but it was a really good movie, and I had a fun time watching it. It was definitely one of the better movies of the summer. God, I'm talking so much, I'm losing my fucking voice. Oh my god. I feel like I'm doing a fucking public speaking event or something. Okay, we don't have much more to look at. The Big Sick, 30 mil domestic. This is actually not great, and I'll explain why. Now, this isn't bad, a performance for a film like this, for what it is, like a rom-com, but as far as I know, this film's budget was something like 10 million, and then the studio acquired the studio that bought it to distribute it, because, a lot of films get made independently, and then they take them to festivals, and they want someone to buy it to release the film. So I think this film was purchased for like 19 million or 20 million. So they have $30 million in this movie. Then you're talking about a marketing campaign, which they put a lot of money into. So this movie probably has $40 million invested. See, people don't get that with some of these independent films, like Juno. Juno, for instance. Let's go back to good old 2007. Juno cost $7.5 million, right? But then when it was bought, they bought it for like a shitload of money. And then they spent like $20 million eventually advertising this movie. So it became a huge hit. But really, it's not a movie that they put $8 million into. It's a movie that's like a $40 million movie, a commercial Hollywood-esque film that was directed by a guy who's been in the industry. It had some actors that were up and coming. Everyone just kind of took it on, got scale. But this film was always made to be very successful. But they try to market it like that little indie film that broke out. This isn't some little indie film that broke out. This was very much a commercial movie that was always planned to be a commercial film. That's how it... Jesus Christ, these fucking Facebook notifications are killing me. But this is not good. For a film that's this critically acclaimed, and they put that much money into it, I think they thought this film was going to break out like a Silver Linings Playbook or something and make $100 million. And I really do. I really think that they thought this was going to be a $100 million film, because the reviews are raves. It was supposed to be a big crowd pleaser. It seemed to hit all the right demographics and markets. It seemed like a really a perfect storm. So I get why the studio really put a lot behind this with Judd Apatow's name and everything. They're like, yeah, this is going to be a $100 million film. I mean, how couldn't it be? There's no way. But we're seeing now that this film's probably, and it was in 2,600 theaters. They might have went too wide early on this. I gotta say, they might have been better off to keep it in low theaters. Because back when they had it in a low theater, like 71, it was making $1 million. But then here's what happened. They went from 71 to 71 to 320. Then they went up to 2,600. See, I think they would have been better off keeping this in limited release for a lot longer and then trying to branch it out somewhere in August or later in July. I think they went too big quick. I think they got caught up in the hype. They thought this was going to be a big hit, and then it didn't catch on. I'm not saying this film won't still get a bunch of Oscar nominations, because I think it's pretty much a lock now to get a few Oscar nominations. But even beyond that, they most certainly thought this film was at least going to make 60, 70 mil domestic. I mean, they're going to lose money on this. They put a lot of money into The Big Sick, thinking it was going to be the breakout little indie film, the little gem of the year. And the reviews were there, but the box office is not there. This film's not clicking the way I thought it was going to. It's not really performing well outside of those, like, LA, New York audiences that really enjoy this kind of stuff. The small town America, middle America is not going to see The Big Sick. So, I still haven't seen the movie. I want to see the movie. I'm a big fan of Zoe Kazan. So, who knows? I don't know, but I think if I had to give a guess, I think they went too big early. They put all their eggs in one basket, and it's blown up in their face, because then the market got too crowded, and this film kind of got lost in the summer. Bad release date too. Why the fuck did they release that film during summer? I think they tried to do it as like counter programming, but something like Girls Trip did that so much better than The Big Sick. So overall, this was it's just got to be said, The Big Sick's not doing that great. I'm not wishing a bomb upon that movie. I'm not trying to shit on it. I'm just telling you guys, if you read about this movie, they put a lot of money into it. They thought this was going to be a hit. So it just has to be noted. You have to bring that stuff up. I don't like pointing out when movies don't do well, but it's just, it's what it is. It happens. Okay, I think we've looked at everything except for, the big one, Emoji Movie, that I'm saving up I'm trying to build up the will for, because this is just, the Emoji Movie's the harbinger of doom. I mean, it really is. It's the sign of the end times. Like, it's the Antichrist personified. It's everything evil and wrong with the world fully here now. I mean, as cynical and shitty and terrible as Hollywood's ever been, where I've just mocked ideas, I remember laughing at the Lego movie when I heard they were making a Lego movie. I was like, that's fucking hilarious. How the fuck are you going to do that? And then it ended up being awesome. But, I thought that was like the low bar, but then it's like the Emoji Movie. Because at least with Legos, you had this, you had years. You had what? I mean, Legos have been around forever now, and everyone's played with them. So you had this connection, and they used that thematic connection of, like, you build a Lego, you're a creator. It had almost this metaphysical aspect to it. The emojis are like this new fucking thing that just got big this last decade, and not everyone uses them or likes them. A lot of people hate them. So to advertise this movie, which is insanely cringe looking, it's so funny because this film had 0% on Rotten Tomatoes for the longest time. And then one of the producers or someone at the studio came out and said, well, it's not fair. They shouldn't allow a rating to go up on Rotten Tomatoes until there's 50 reviews. Because there's still not even 50 reviews, because it seems like a lot of critics are just skipping this fucking movie knowing it was going to be bad. It has 8% now and still 0. They haven't given it a critical consensus yet, but yeah, this film doesn't sound very good. 8%. It sounds worse than it even looked. I mean, every single thing about this, look at that. It's like, oh, look, it's like when he goes into the town in Zootopia, and it's all the stuff like the bunny girl saw. Oh, look at this poster. Oh, it's emojis. It's kind of like the Lego movie. It's going to be fun. I mean, I guess Illumination makes really shitty animated films and they make a bunch of money. So this wasn't a bad idea. I could see why they'd make this crappy movie, but it cost $50 million. It had a really good Friday, but it declined very steep in its Saturday, which is not a good sign for a children's film, because children's films usually do better on Saturday. At its best, this seems like a second-rate version of Pixar's Inside Out. At its worst, it's a cash grab based on a cynical, high-level concept. This film is boldly bad, yes, but also boldly boring. Hear that? It's the end of the world. So the Emoji Movie's open to $25 million. Now, like I said, it had a Friday that was outpacing Dunkirk. Its Friday was $10 million. So Saturday, it should have done $11 million or more. That's the typical way an animated film works. Saturdays are higher. And then they have, I mean, even in the second weekend, usually the Saturdays are higher than the Fridays, right? But this film had a decline on Saturday of 13%. So, and you gotta wonder, is this film actually going to hold up that well? It'll probably make that budget back, but is this really going to be a big hit? I mean, it'll probably make over 100 million worldwide and then some, so probably... Oh, God, Patrick Stewart put his voice in this? God damn it. No. Ugh. Some of these other people, T.J. Miller and James Corden can just go suck a fucking knife, but damn it, not Patrick Stewart. How much money did they give you, man? Come on, Picard. You were in Logan this year, dude. That was great. So, fuck this movie. I mean, seriously, fuck the Emoji Movie. I love T.J. Miller said it had a progressive message and all that, and then they came out and said everyone who was talking bad about the movie was just being a hater. They tried to save face on this movie so much and act like it wasn't a disaster waiting to happen. I mean, it's ridiculous, and it's not like the trailers made the movie look any fucking good, like it was convincing us it was going to be great. You going to watch Ben versus Chank at Politicon, starts at 5:30. Yeah, of course I'm fucking watching that, dude. That's like the event of the year. Like, hell yeah. Isn't Anna, Ann Coulter, isn't she debating, the chick from TYT? Aren't they having a debate too? That one's funnier to me than Chank and Ben. Cause Chank's just gonna coil up into a little ball. But I could see the Ann Coulter one with, God, I can't believe I can't think of that girl's name now. Is it Anita? The chick from the Young Turks. I'm better than you. Get off the stage, you fat fuck. No, if their debate, that's amazing. I'm just like, my mouth's watering at the idea of it. I will be jerking off that entire debate. I will be so hard. I will not be able to contain myself. I mean, let's look at Guardians real quick. 387 mil domestic, 860 worldwide. That's a good number, man. Although I still think, if you would have asked me just a month ago, well, not a month ago, this movie's been out longer than that, but if you'd asked me before this movie came out, I would have said it would have made $1 billion. I really would have. The fact that it was the sequel to Guardians and that film made so much money, I would have said $1 billion. This really only made about 100 million more than the previous film. It hasn't even done that. And so that's a little odd. That's not a great... I mean, don't get me wrong, the film did great. Those are great numbers. The franchise is not dead. It held very well this summer. It didn't have big drops. I mean, the movie did... I mean, its second weekend was 65 million. The movie did very well. But I would have guessed this to make 400 million plus and over 500 million at the foreign box. That foreign total's more the disappointment. Domestically, that's pretty solid. This isn't much better than the first film. This is only about 30 million more than the original film, and I don't know. I just would have guessed 500 to 600 million. I just think it would have been a lock, so it's a little odd. I guess it was a crowded summer, but Guardians 2 once again not doing bad, but I would have bet on it making $1 billion. I really would have. Yeah, people went to go see the Emoji Movie to see how bad it was. I hope so. That would be fucking amazing. Let's go see Last Weekend, because sometimes they have films from there, because this isn't totally updated yet. So maybe we can see some stuff. And The House was a real big bomb. Will Ferrell movie. That movie's not doing well at all. Let's see. A Ghost Story's a limited release indie film. It's made under $1 million. I don't know how much that movie cost. Let's check out Alien Covenant. $232 million. Yeah, still at a loss of money. By far. Not even close. Baywatch. $173 million worldwide on a $69 million budget. That ain't bad. The domestic total was pretty shitty, but worldwide, that movie came through. So The Rock is still continuing his kick-assery at the box office. He's not done yet. Oh, look, Diary of a Wimpy Kid, The Long Haul, bombed. You know, you guys all know how much I love the Diary of a Wimpy Kid series. Well, if you didn't recast Roderick and Greg in that, I think this film would have done well, but fuck you guys. You recast my favorite. The two best parts of the fucking movie. I mean, they recast everyone. And I love Tom Everett Scott. I'm happy that he's working, but, like, did they think we were going to go see another Diary of a Wimpy Kid movie with new fucking actors? Like, it was a trilogy. It was the same actors in the trilogy, dude. I'm not going to go see the fucking fourth one with the new actors. That pisses me off. And please, go watch my Diary of a Wimpy Kid trilogy video. I'm not being, like, cute here. I legitimately love that trilogy, and I'm very upset that the fourth film didn't keep the original cast, because I wanted a fourth film so bad for years. I was like, yes, make Darwin Wimpy get 4, and this film was really disappointing. That was like my big summer movie. Yeah. I know Snatch bombed really bad. No, I love Snatch's box office performance. It's amazing. It's like Amy Schumer just came and went. Like, Trainwreck came out, was a hit, and then she had 1 year, she was really, really fucking huge there, and now it's like nobody fucking likes her anymore. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. I love it. I love it. Oh, The Mummy. Let's see if that's made 400 million yet. It's right there. 396 million. If this makes 400 million, they'll probably come out okay. I want my Tom Cruise to always do well. Even though this movie's absolutely fucking awful, I do love Tom Cruise. And to his credit, he tried to save the movie. I read a lot of reports about this film, and he was really trying to fix it in editing and get stuff done. He wanted it to be a good movie, and he just knew it wasn't working. So far this year, the biggest hits have to be said. I'd say Wonder Woman and Despicable Me are going to be the most profitable. Actually, Beauty and the Beast is probably the most profitable film, because that's just insane. But these are probably the most profitable films of the year. A lot more balanced than last year. Last year, it was like this was all Disney. But there's only a couple Disney movies in here. Wonder Woman's not Disney. Despicable Me is not Disney. Fate of the Furious is Universal. So, you know, and Spider-Man, Sony. Logan's Fox. But if you see after that, not a lot of films breaking out this year like last year. I mean, we have these 2 films that were huge hits, and we still have Star Wars coming out and stuff like that. But, and, you know, Justice League, there's some major movies coming out. But at the end of the day, I'm not sure if anything like Thor is going... You know, Thor at best, I think, will make 700 to 800 million worldwide. But I'm going to say 700. So, I don't know if Thor 3 will really break out past anything like this or this. And the only thing I really see is, yeah, Justice League and Star Wars, obviously. I think Star Wars is going to obviously be the highest grossing film of the year. I don't think it'll make Force Awakens money, but it'll definitely make... I mean, it's going to make $1.5 billion. There's no way around it. Trying to look for something here. I think that's about it. I don't think there's really much else to look at, but I'll give it one more glance here before we get off this journey we're on. And just make sure I don't have Boss Baby. Let's see if that's made 500 million yet. It's right there, 4 million away. That film ended up being a huge hit. That was a big money maker. It's kind of insane. Captain Underpants actually ended up doing really well for what it is. You know, you got to give it up for that. Wish Upon bombed, and let's see. Yeah, that's about it. There's nothing really left to look at here. The Smurfs, I guess, which is also doing not that great. I mean, 200 mil worldwide's nothing to you know, be like, oh, but the last few films did much better. I think the first Smurfs movie made 500 million worldwide. It was absurd how much money it made. It's fucking ridiculous. But let's see. Let's just check one more time the box office here. Domestically, it's been a pretty good year. Not as many films making 300 mil, but Beauty and the Beast really helps with the year, and then Star Wars is going to boost it. But the things I think that are showing the most impressive, you know, because Lego Batman movie, this is a film I thought would have done better too. I mean, not that it did bad, but I actually thought this would have made like 250 million. Especially being a Batman movie. But really, domestically, the most impressive performances of the year, Split for sure, with its low budget of $9 million, making as much as it did, is huge. Get Out, making its money on a low budget of $4 million, is insane. Get Out's going to be easily one of the most profitable films of the year. So we have those. But I'd say what's really branching out and impressing is definitely got to be said is Wonder Woman, Logan, and Despicable Me are probably the films to really look at that are like, okay, those are ones that did better than what you'd really expect. Even if you had low expectations for any of them at the end, they're all doing so well domestically and they're going to make a lot of profit. Where everything else kind of down here except for like A Dog's Purpose. And A Dog's Purpose shows you how you can do something like this. Look at this. $22 million budget. Almost $200 million worldwide, even with the controversy. This film's a huge hit. Leslie Hallstrom has this way for making these fucking movies that make a lot of money and go under the radar. Like this film, $22 million budget, 88 mil worldwide. Have you ever seen this movie, The 100-Foot Journey? Safe Haven? I mean, I remember when this movie came out, but he has all these like little hit movies, Dear John, that are made on like 20-something million dollar budgets. It's ridiculous. And I love Leslie Hellstrom. I love him. He used to make amazing movies. He made Chocolate, The Cider House Rules, What's Eating Gilbert Grape, one of the best movies ever made. My Life as a Dog is an amazing film. Amazing visual style. Love how his cinematography. Highly recommend that in Gilbert Grape. Gilbert Grape's definitely... God, it's so weird that Gilbert Grape bombed. Like, when it came out, it didn't do well. Now that movie's so famous. I mean, I don't know anyone who hasn't seen it. But I guess that's just, that's a real cult film. Oh, yeah, Something to Talk About. He made that, too. That was kind of when he started... That, like, hey, I'm going to do romantic comedies. But he used to kind of be an art director. Even his film The Hoax. But he's found this weird little niche market in making these, like, family films or romantic films that just do huge numbers at the box office. And they go unnoticed. But a consistent director when it comes to delivering. I mean, I have no interest in any of those movies. But still, it has to be said. It's kind of like Vin Diesel at the foreign box office. Like, look at this. Triple X 2. This film did terrible domestically. 44 million. Motherfucking film made 350 million worldwide. I mean, you can't hold a good Triple X down. Look at Vin fucking Diesel's numbers this year. Now, I know he's Groot, but still. That movie, 387 million. Fate of the Furious, 225. Look at this motherfucker's worldwide total. His whole box office total is 8,285,000,000. I mean, this dude is making fucking bank. His two most successful films after Furious 7, his second and third, came out this year. And then he had another film come out this year that's made 350 million worldwide. So in total, Vin Diesel's been in films that have made like 2.5 billion. So the guy's definitely a huge box office star, needless to say. Same goes for Dwayne Johnson. Even though Baywatch really underperformed domestically, just looking at his worldwide numbers from where he was, he's at 8 billion. And Fate of the Furious came out this year. So yeah, I'd say Dwayne Johnson and Vin Diesel are slowly showing themselves to become the biggest movie stars in the world, at least internationally. Maybe not domestically, but internationally, holy fuck. You cannot hold Vin Diesel and The Rock down. They should just cast them in everything. Why weren't they in Dunkirk? It could have had Vin Diesel in Dunkirk. That would have been amazing. Yeah, God, talk about franchise fatigue right there. Star Trek and Planet of the Apes. Actually, Atomic Blonde opened a little better than John Wick, so you never know. I don't think it's going to hold up as well as John Wick did, though. I have this feeling it's not going to catch on that way John Wick did. I could be wrong, but I just don't think it's going to get that cult following the same way. Holy shit, Dark Tower's coming out soon. That's going to fucking bomb. There's no way that doesn't bomb. 20 million opening weekend, 30 million maybe. Who the fuck is going to go see that movie? Jesus. Only the most hardcore Stephen King fans, and even they don't want to go see it. They know it's going to suck. They're just going out of blind love and loyalty to hope that it's a good movie. And I've been there, people. I've been there. Get Out seemed to be a breakout hit compared to the budget. No, Get Out's definitely the most profitable film so far. It has to be. A 4.5 million. Even if they spent 20 mil releasing and marketing that film, they still made a shitload of money. Jordan Peele is going to get some major money put behind his next few films. He has another film coming out, I think, this year or next year, but Jordan Peele as a director, he's going to get some serious money, because it's very rare that you make a film on that kind of budget and it does those numbers. Those are huge numbers. It's insane how well Get Out did. I would have never... I mean, I thought Get Out was going to do well, but I thought it was going to do well in like a Zombieland kind of way, or, at best, something like that. I would have never thought it was going to break out and become like one of the biggest hits of the year. And I really don't get it, because I didn't like Get Out. I mean, I didn't hate Get Out, but I'm not sure why people love it. It's all hype to me. It's not a bad movie. There's clever scenes in it, and it's kind of well written in parts, but it's like, it's not as great as I was hearing, and I'm not sure why it caught on with people so much. Like, I've seen much better horror comedies that I think, or even horror films that tried to be satirical like that are, you know, I think I've seen so many other ones that should have been hits like that over Get Out. I don't know why Get Out was the one that connected with people, but it was. It caught on with the motherfuckers. All right, let's wrap. The Little Hours. This is some little indie. It's a remake of this older film. I think it was a play too. I'm not sure, but it's not doing that well. I thought that was going to end up doing a lot better than it did. Yeah, I guess there's nothing else to talk about. We are done. Those are all the films. So, if you watch this video after I uploaded, please leave your opinion in the comment section. Like and subscribe. Tell me what you think about the box office numbers. Tell me if I got anything wrong. Make sure to let me know in the comments, and I'll make sure to fix that next week, because I did that this week too. I can't keep up with everything, people. There's a lot to follow here. There's a lot of movies coming out. What do we got coming out, though? Let me check here real quick. I'm trying to remember. That's right, because after this, oh yeah, we got Dark Tower and Detroit and all that coming out. Okay, so I guess I'll see you guys next week, and we'll see how those movies do. That's up for debate how those will do. So why don't you give me your prediction, actually, for Dark Tower? I'm going to say, let's see, my prediction is 25 million. Opening weekend. So give me your prediction in the comment section for Dark Tower's opening weekend, and then we'll see next weekend if you're right. That'll be a fun little game we'll play. So let me know, what do you guys think? Do you think it's going to open 25 million or less? You think it's going to be 30 million, 40 million? I don't know. It could go either way. So that'll be a fun little game, and thank you for watching. I love talking about the box office, and like I always say, it's great to follow, because it's follow the money, see the pattern, see the kind of films that are making money, like a Get Out or a Wonder Woman, Beauty and the Beast, right? La La Land. So that makes you think there's probably going to be a lot more musicals, and there is coming. A lot of musicals are coming out. Just see how the money comes, and you're like, okay, this is probably what studios are going to make more of. And you'll see this pattern's always true. If you go every year through the box office, you can see what led to, you know, the Hollywood we're currently in because of what was making money. So just I'd say even if you don't always understand it in relation to the budgets and the tax rebates and everything that goes on with it, it's still good to look at the numbers, because it helps you understand on some level. Sometimes you go, why didn't they make a sequel to that movie I liked? It's because they didn't make any money. Or you go, God, why do they keep making shitty fucking sequels to this other movie? It's because it made money. Or you're like, why do they keep doing reboots? And then you can go look and see how much money reboots make. You know, it helps just give you context, because it is a business, and it takes some of the emotion out of it. Because I used to be that way a lot. I'd get really emotional about movies. But then once you realize, like, well, man, I may have liked that movie, but it didn't do well. And a lot of that comes down to marketing, release date, how much money they spend on it, you know, stuff like that. There's so many factors, but if you want the kind of movies you like to get made, and if you want filmmakers you like to keep making films, like a Christopher Nolan or a David Fincher, let's say, or Paul Thomas Anderson, anything like that, Alejandro Gonzalez Iñárritu, you want their films to do well. That's the thing. You want because then they can make more films the way they want to. And films that you hate, like if you hate Michael Bay and you don't want any more Transformers films, then the current performance of this film is a good sign that he's probably not going to ever come back to Transformers. Because he's always said he's leaving and then lies and comes back. So having said all that, you know, it is important. That doesn't mean you don't have a stock, and I don't make any money off these films doing well. I don't lose any money or anything like that. I'm not invested financially. But it's important because it does result in what we get. It does end up with what we get. You know, the kind of movies that we end up getting are a reflection of the box office. So it is important to keep up with it, because if not, then we just kind of lose context, and we think Hollywood's just making shitty movies on purpose. And I'm not as cynical as some other people. I know that it's a business and they need to make money. And you know, sometimes a great movie just doesn't connect with audiences. It happens. Blade Runner bombed when it was released in the 80s. You know, it took a long time for it to get a cult following. So, you know, it's Donnie Darko. You know, it's a thing. It's one of those weird things, but it seems like this summer people are pretty picky with what they want to be, what they want to go see, or it's just there's so many movies out, nobody really knows what to pick. I'm not sure. I think War's almost too depressing of a film to be out in this current climate. I almost think like optimistic films are doing a little bit better. I'm not sure if it was actually a good... See, I think that's why Baby Driver's doing well. It's fun. It's like a fun, exciting... Like how Kingsman was. And I think Kingsman 2 is going to be a huge hit because of that. But like War for the Planet of the Apes is kind of a dour, serious film. And I just don't know if people wanted to go see a movie like that this summer. I think that kind of... Like even Girls Trip, it's a fun comedy. It's getting pretty good reviews, you know, like 88% on Rotten Tomatoes. That's not bad for a comedy. And, you know, people are going... They want to go laugh. Now, I know Dunkirk's a serious war film and it's doing well, but once again, that's that Chris Nolan factor, so he doesn't really count. Chris Nolan's kind of like the exception to every rule that exists. But I better wrap this up before I drag on too long, and I need to fucking get my voice back, drink some water here and stuff like that. But I love you bastards. I love you patriarchal bastards, every single one of you. And tune in next Sunday. We'll do another live stream. And we'll see how Dark Tower performs. And we'll see how Catherine Bigelow's Detroit does in wide release. I'm very curious about that one, too. I'll take you guys out with some music if it's still working, because I'm doing this through Bluetooth headphones right now, so I'm not sure if it's... It is. Alright. Alright, see you, assholes.